Hey Kings of Dragons, Dragon King 551 here. We're back with Superman and Lois. This is the end for the Arrowverse for me. Yes, let me just state this. There's going to be other Superman and Lois videos coming out that are older from 2022 and stuff, just FYI for this. Where it's going to be about season 2. There's going to be a lot of episodes about season 2 where I explain each episode of season 2. There's just going to be other things of me talking about Superman and Lois in the earlier days of the show, explaining why I liked it, why I didn't like it, and everything else. And then there's also going to be Flash parts. So there is going to be more Arrowverse and DC talk on this, but there are going to be older videos about the Arrowverse and talking about like that because I just don't want you guys to think that I'm doing anything out of order or anything. Furthermore, I will talk about the final episode in this video, but this is my full review about the show and rating it based off each thing. The reason it goes lower depending on what I'm talking about is the story. So first off, let me state this. It's a 9 out of 10 because there was still 10% room for improvement. It's a 90% out of 100 for me right now. The reason behind that is because I did not like that they disconnected the show because the first season contradicts the second to the third to the fourth season, where you're saying that John Diggle, the actor who plays John Diggle, is the same actor and character that's on Earth Prime of Supergirl, Flash, and crossing over on episodes. The problem with this is that we also have a statement where Lois says we know that the multiverse exists. So if you're saying that you know that the multiverse exists, Lois, then you're implying that you still are on Earth Prime and you know that the multiverse exists at that point and stuff with John Irons coming through and everything else. And that's why I think that it would have been awesome to still have Supergirl on it and leave the door wide open. Say, the door's always open. You want to come on our show? Great. You don't want to come? That's fine. But I think that it was kind of sad and disappointing that we couldn't get Melissa Benoist back in a Flash episode or in this show for one time for her to put the cape back on and stuff. And it was really upsetting to me that we didn't get that. But yeah, so that's the first reason why it's a 9 out of 10 and stuff. If you're changing actors for this show, why couldn't you do that for John Diggle and stuff? You're changing actors for Jimmy Olsen, you're changing actors for Lex Luthor, you're already doing the Lex Luthor stuff. Another reason why it drops a little bit lower is because I've already seen the Lex Luthor plot. I didn't really need the Lex Luthor plot again. Talking about season 4, episode 10, let's go into that. So, Jordan and Jonathan get their suits finally. It was awesome to see that. They got to age. Superman got to stay around for another 32 years. He also got a golden retriever dog, but that is not the super dog. It is just a crypto or whatever his name is, regular dog. And he died and stuff. And there was no cameo. Okay, let me just tell you that there was no cameo in the final episode. So anyone that was waiting for a cameo, it didn't happen. He met Lois, and it was kind of cool how it said loyalty, love, forgiveness, and those were all his things about like dying, coming back, and everything. So now the mantle is up to Jordan and Jonathan. Now, I would love to see a spinoff of them, years in the future. Now, it's not confirmed who Jordan and Jonathan's wives are. They did get married and they procreated and had more children. So it's possible that they passed down their Kryptonian genes. Now, is it like what we see in Dragon Ball Z, where, yeah, Pan, Gohan's son, I'm sorry, Gohan's daughter. Sorry, I said son. Gohan's daughter has Saiyan DNA inside her, but it's 1/4. It's not a half hybrid Saiyan anymore. So is her potency lower and stuff the same way that it is with Kryptonians? Their ideology, do they have less powerful powers now in their kids where they may not get powers and they may just be human? I don't know. The thing here is we don't know who they get married to. Did Jordan marry Sarah finally? Did Jonathan marry Candace? We don't know. We see a blonde woman and a brown hair woman, so we don't really know who they married. The way they killed off Lois was kind of disappointing. To say that she came back and instead of dying of old age, cancer got her. I mean, Superman got to live for another 32 years, so that was great and everything. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good episode, but I think that it kind of falls into the Flash category with the way it ended because It was only like a 10-minute fight, and it was just kind of like a suicide for Doomsday. Doomsday just kind of got picked up and thrown into the sun. I thought they were going to take Bizarro's heart and put it into Superman, and then he would have been able to live with his boys and train them as Lois dies of cancer. And then, like, Superman would have been around for a very long time until, I guess, until the Kryptonian DNA catches up with his age, and he would have died off. And then his kids would have taken up the mantle, and his grandkids would have taken up the mantle. Uh, I think it was definitely a solid episode, but I think it was kind of stupid how Lex and all of them were beaten so easily and everything. Um, and, it was just kind of disappointing and everything else. Um, but yeah, I think this Lex was definitely different and more violent and everything. Couldn't really let go and um, had to just keep getting revenge and stuff. And I understand it, but let's talk about Lois now. So this is another reason why it drops to an 85% or an 80% is because Lois is not very truthful. And I hate to say it like that, but how can you say she's ethical? The the way that we go into like season 2 with Ali Austin, and she's not really ethical because she like kind of stabs her sister in the back and stuff and does all of this shit, and I mean, becomes an unethical person. Then when you look at Lex Luthor, it's like you kind of made an enemy yourself, Lois. You made an enemy out of yourself. I mean, um, the reason I say that is because the thing here is you sent him to jail for 17 years. Yes, Mario Manheim became kind of a good guy towards the end of the series and stuff, and how Clark wanted to actually help people, and they made like these foundations and everything. And I guess Mario Manheim was becoming more of a good guy and being redeemed over Lex. Sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend and stuff. And you go into that and everything. So Mario Manheim made a fall guy, which was Lex, but he was wrongly committed and convicted for 17 years. What would you do for 17 years if you were wrongfully committed? Would you see that there's no point of taking revenge on the people that caused you this? No, you would sue them. You would do stuff that, well, obviously I wouldn't go on a berserk thing like Lex Luthor, but I would sue them and everything else for everything that they owned and everything, because you are someone that um, basically showed it and everything. Now, it was awesome to see Tom Cavanaugh in the show and stuff, but not as Reverse Flash. So it was awesome to get him in the show. Ultimately, I do rate it overall a 9 out of 10, but the reason I rate it low is Lois really an ethical person? It seems like not, because she stabs people and doesn't have all the information. But I guess like the court couldn't say, oh, beyond reasonable doubt, so we have to convict Lex Luthor and stuff. And it's just stuff along the lines of that where I don't really like the Lex Luthor plot. I felt that it was kind of lackluster. We already got it in Supergirl. We didn't need a repeat. I mean, there's a funny joke once that I like to call Pete and Repeat are in a boat. Pete gets out, who is left? Repeat. And then it keeps going from there and so forth and so on. And I just didn't need a copy and paste job with a different actor for Lex Luthor. I still think the best Lex Luthor is the one on Supergirl. I think he was the best, well made. But I don't know. I guess this is it for me for Superman and Lois. Let me know your thoughts on the show. What do you rank it overall? I wanted to wait until the show was fully ended to talk about some of the stuff that happened in episode 10. But until next time, guys, don't forget to stay radical. I'll see you in the next one. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on Superman and Lois. But this is the end for me for my review on it. Other videos will come out about it in other parts. But I got nothing more to say about Superman and Lois. This is it. My review of the show, I give it a 9 out of 10, ultimately, based off of not having Arrowverse connection, and Lois being unethical gives it an 85% out of 100 for that person and everything else. Let me know your thoughts, though.